are providing the money to the city council and the central government. We have the right to decide which services needed for the people of Lesbos. Those who are directors in the banks, they are making millions.
There is a £120 billion tax gap which is lost because of tax avoided through the rich offshoring, evaded by criminal activity or by simply not paying. The resources can be put into HMRC to solve the deficit, to solve the economic crisis by actually getting money from where they should be paying the rich and not the public servants and the vulnerable.
My name's Emma Friedman and I have epilepsy. I spoke to my neurologist who didn't have any major concerns about me taking Epilim, which is an anticonvulsant drug. He didn't have any concerns as birth defects were considered very rare. And I became pregnant.
Hello, Nesta! I'm Andrew Freeman. Welcome all, everybody.
Thank you, Andrew.
2 in every 5 children born to mothers who take Epilim during pregnancy have a birth defect. He is disabled for life and will never live independently. The cost to the taxpayer, by the time he dies, assuming that he lives to the age of 50, will be £10 million, just for one child. Now, legal aid was withdrawn in October 2010, just 3 weeks before the trial was due to start. The Legal Services Commission have said in all of their appeals that it's not good use of taxpayer money. But if you as taxpayers are going to pay £10 million for my son, surely the gamble should be made to pay $750,000 for 100 of these children to go to court and to have their claim heard. These 100 children, if each of them cost £10 million, that's £1 billion that we as taxpayers are paying because of the errors made by a pharmaceutical company in not publicising the damaging effects of these medications.
It's not only cuts that this unelected government is bringing in. On February the 14th, British Sikhs became subject to certain British airports. They're having turban searches. There was no consultation on this with the government or with local MPs.
Tomorrow is International Workers' Day. So let's remember that we are an international class, a class that can and must overcome nationalism and racism, which goes beyond borders. To do this, we must overcome the borders within our own movement. No more talk of British jobs for British workers, but jobs for all and security of employment. There is plenty of work to be done. It is capitalism which denies jobs because the work is currently deemed unprofitable. It is this system which is our enemy, not foreign workers. Together, as an international class, we can sweep this system away.
What we're facing in Britain are massive cuts that affect every single one of us, whether we work in the public sector or whether we are public sector service users. Every time that capitalism has a crisis, who pays for it? The working people pay for the crisis. Don't let the condemned kid you that it's all one party's fault that we're in the mess that we are. There has been an international economic crisis, and that crisis has been caused by international capitalism. The only way you can fight international capitalism is if the working class internationally is united, fighting in its own countries but fighting together.
We want to build a movement that says to Cameron and his chums, you tell us about the big society. Well, listen, mate, we are the big society. and we're coming for you. Yes, we're not going to have this. We want a declaration of war coming from these marches. War on the desecrators and cultural vandals of the Tories and the class they represent. War on those who would thrust us back into the dark ages. War on those who would brutalise our young people by sending them to a string of wars in defence of oil interests.
Youth unemployment at the moment is, for 16 and 17-year-olds, the highest that it's ever been. The young people under the age of 25, over 1 million people are unemployed, and this government is doing nothing to create jobs for young people. Instead, it's slashing public services, making massive attacks on education, and throwing a whole generation of young people onto the scrap heap.